Welcome to the Phoenix Prosperity Podcast, where wealth meets legacy. Join your host, Tim Fergestad, as we explore the journeys of Phoenix's finest to success and beyond.
Hello, this is Tim Fergestad. Thank you for joining us. I'm very pleased to have Will Moreland with me here today. Dr. Will Moreland is a military veteran turned serial entrepreneur. As the founder of several successful companies, he's traveled the world to impact, inspire, and influence leaders at all levels. As a professional speaker and business coach, Dr. Will has been named a top speaker in America and named Business Person of the Year by community organizations 5 times. Most recently, he has been inducted into the Business Hall of Fame. He is a respected global leader and author of over 50 books. Welcome to the show. Dr. Will, can you give us a quick snapshot of your businesses right now?
Yeah, so right now I'm the CEO and founder of Moreland Training and Associates, which is a leadership consultant company. We work with Fortune 500 companies, universities, schools, and what we do is we help them create what we call cultures of civility, and we do a lot of leadership development training with their senior leadership and a lot of their employees. I'm also a motivational speaker, so I get to travel around the United States and around the world. And then because that doesn't keep me busy enough, we have a real estate company where we do residential real estate.
Nice. I'm a big fan of real estate. So let's talk about the order in which all that happened. How did you get started in your space?
Yeah, so it started when I was in the United States Army, and I started to get heavily involved in personal development and leadership development, and this passion for leadership just began to burn on the inside of me. And when it came time for me to re-enlist in the Army, I said, you know what? I want to go teach other people about leadership. Now, back then, I didn't know, about consulting. I didn't know about starting a company or anything like that, but I just knew that's what I wanted to do. So I got out the military. I worked a couple of years for the Department of Defense, gave me a little time to figure it out. And then I started my consulting company where I just went in and I started teaching companies over in Europe about leadership and about culture enhancement. And thankfully, we've been able to do that for the last 23 years. I moved the company here to Phoenix in 2010. So we've been in Phoenix now for 14, almost 15 years. And then as a marketing play, I got into speaking just to kind of use speaking as a commercial for our consulting company. And then to shorten the story, I've always been fascinated with real estate. I use it as a way to leverage our money. So for me, I get all the money from speaking and consulting, and then we pour it into real estate to kind of leverage and hedge our investments.
Nice. Yeah. Real estate's the greatest wealth building vehicle on earth. It's hard to avoid it. It's pretty
hard to
avoid
awesome. It. Yeah. It's been very good for us.
Excellent. Well, first of all, thank you for your service. What about being in the Army sort of led you to the leadership? So let's start way back there. How that training inspired you?
For me, I just started getting involved with reading books, right? I remember it's funny, I was just sharing this with my wife. I read an article off someone's website, and it was talking about reading, and it gave a list of all these books, and it started talking about the average person doesn't read a book a month or something like that. And if you want to be above average, read 1 book a month. If you wanted to be superior, read 2 books a month. If you wanted to be known nationally, read 3 books a month. And if you want to be known internationally, read 4 books a month. And it gave a list of all these different books: Think and Grow Rich, The Richest Man in Babylon, The Science of Getting Rich, The Magic of Thinking Big, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And so I really got fascinated with reading, and I got fascinated with the transformation that was happening on the inside of me. I'm originally from Compton, California, raised by a single mother. And when I was growing up in Compton, Compton was said to be literally the worst city in America. So I didn't have a lot of great examples as it related to personal development and really becoming the best version of yourself. And so when I was reading these books, and in particular, Think and Grow Rich, when it started to say you could literally be the captain of your own ship and you could literally change your life.
That's empowering, isn't it?
Yeah, by making some distinct choices and having this burning desire. And so earlier on in my military career, I started to apply these principles, these just simple principles like, coming to work and being efficient. Didn't have to do a whole lot more than everybody else, but because everybody else was on the average train, I just had to do a little bit more. So instead of getting to work just on time, I started to get to work 10 minutes earlier. And what happened then was I was starting to get on the radar of my supervisors because they're like, who is this person coming in, 10 minutes early, 15 minutes early?
I started snowballs.
Right. I started taking pride in my uniform. Instead of pulling it out the laundry, I was sending it to the cleaners to get pressed. And so now I'm looking like a leader. I'm looking like someone's in charge. And I can remember vividly so many times people would mistake me, even though I was a private, they would mistake me for being a non-commissioned officer just because my boots were shined, just because, my uniform was pressed and starched. And I looked like a leader. And so when I started seeing these principles really act out in my life, that's where I got motivated and fascinated and said, I want to teach this to you know how it is. You learn something and now you want to just teach it to everybody. And so that, as Napoleon Hill would say, that burning desire got on the inside of me. And that's where it started for me.
Excellent. Thank you for sharing that. It's a tough one to get people out of that sort of fixed mindset. So many people feel like they were dealt these cards. That's just the way it is. And they don't know that they have control over their destiny. So,
a bad hand is only one round, right? And if you get out of that round, you can get some new cards. And that's what I figured out in life. I figured out that bad hand, it was just a bad hand. Don't have to go back to that bad hand. Don't have to focus on that bad hand. I can get some new cards. And so that's what happened to me. I decided, listen, Will, you can go the rest of your life complaining about you didn't have a relationship with your dad. You can go the rest of your life complaining about you were born in Compton, California. You can go and complain about your mom didn't buy you the latest sneakers. But here's the deal. When you turn 18 years old, no one cares. No one cares about all that stuff. When you're in school, 12 years old, 13 years old, people will have pity on you. People will try to help you out, extend a hand. But once you get 18, no one cares. And so I had to ask myself, Will, do you want to go from 18 years old until the time you die complaining about what happened the first 18 years of your life? Or do you want to take control of the next 60 years of your life? And so when I knew that I had that choice to take control of my life for the next 60 years, that's what I did.
Okay, excellent. And so is that, I guess maybe some of the best advice you have for helping others get out of that funk of a fixed mindset, right? Or a victim mindset of letting them know it is their choice? I mean, because a lot of people don't like to hear that. Like, oh, right, I chose to this or that.
I always tell people your start is not your finish. Mm-hmm. And I know there's some people that's going to challenge us, Tim, and say, but you don't know my story. You don't know what she did or what they did. All that's true. When you take 100% responsibility for your life, you're not excusing people's bad behavior. What you're saying is, I'm not going to allow their bad behavior to become my prison. So many times, Tim, what we allow circumstances and situations to do is become a prison versus a platform. And so now, at almost 50, when I look back at all the challenges that I've been through, it was really preparation for all the work that I do now. As a coach and working with executives, there's very few people that can come to me with a bad luck story, a hard luck story, and try to convince me that they can't change their life around. Because there was a commercial back in the 80s for hair growth. And I remember the guy, he would come on and he would say, I'm not just the president of the hair club, I'm also a client, right? And that's how I feel about the information I share. This is my lived experience. This is not things I've read in a book. I literally know that if you make a choice that you want your life to be different and you decide that you're going to take 100% responsibility for the rest of your outcome and you're not going to blame anybody anymore, you can literally transform your life and change it around.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Powerful stuff, Dr. Will. Appreciate it. The hard part may also of helping people with that is getting them to listen, and really listen, right? Because you can bring them to water, but you can't make them drink, type of thing sometimes.
Tim, and you probably have figured this out by now. Our biggest competition, our biggest obstacle, our biggest problem in life is going to be ourselves. Getting over yourself. When people ask me, when they see the success that I've had, they ask me what's been the most difficult thing. It's been me believing that I could start, with a single mom, start in what they said was the worst city in America, get into trouble and overcome that, forgive myself and take responsibility for my own life. Looking at, my own mistakes and telling myself, you made a mistake, you're not a mistake, and really forgiving myself and believing that, I pinch myself sometimes. A couple of weeks ago or a couple of months ago, I was just at the vice president's of the United States House. And I'm like, here's this kid from Compton, California, and I'm at the vice president of the United States House. Like, how does this happen? Well, it happened because I just made a choice that my start wasn't going to be my finish. And so for anybody that's listening to us, like, I don't care what's happened in your life. I don't care what you've been through. You've gotten through it. If you're listening to us, that means you're undefeated in life. That means you've won against everything that life has thrown at you. You just need to recognize you're a champion and begin to think like a champion and perform like one.
Right. 100%.
You're kidding me.
Well, you know what? I can hear you still. The audio froze up for a second there. Hopefully, there, you're back. Okay. So, great point. There's a number of people I know who've had incredible challenges, and they wouldn't go back and change them because they made them who they are now. And in fact, a recent podcast I was watching of Joe Rogan, he said, I talked to the most amazing, outstanding, happy, successful people, and almost all of them had messed up childhoods. And he said, as a parent, I don't want to mess up my kids, but I gotta give them the opportunities to overcome obstacles to grow.
That's the tension. We were talking before we came on, about our kids. And I think about that all the time. I think about some of the adversity that I've had and who it's made me today. And then I look at my son who is 14 and he doesn't have so much adversity. And I wonder, I'm like, is he going to be able to succeed at a high level in life without having that pushback? And so I've never seen it from this side. I've never seen, what it looks like to have two parents and to live in, a nice neighborhood and to have, the certainty. So that's a different journey for him. And hopefully he can take it and use it to his advantage and say, I don't have to go down that wrong road. I can just take these advantages that my parents have created and go create an even better life. So that's what we're hoping for.
Yep. That's the goal now, because it's called, optimal deprivation, right? Because my kids are privileged, right? We live in America. We live in a first world country, and they need for nothing, want for a little. So I'm not sure they have the same drive, right? And that's kind of the challenge, is to allow them to grow that muscle over time on long-term projects and accomplish things. And like Scouts, we mentioned, right? That's something earlier. My boys, they don't let you be an Eagle Scout just because you got all the badges in a month, right? They force you to have positions of responsibility for 6 months at a time over years and stuff, not for a reason.
And that's huge, to become an Eagle Scout. Like, he may not really realize, I don't know off top the percentage of individuals that are Eagle Scouts, but I know it's very little. It's very low of those that achieve that. I have, one of my mentors, his son, is an Eagle Scout. And I remember him going through his last project and having to get a letter from a congressman, all that kind of stuff. So it's big time. It's very, very huge. So, yeah.
Okay. So thank you for all that. This podcast is usually not about self-betterment, but it's an incredibly important topic. It's something I didn't appreciate coming from science. I worked on skills. I was learning new molecular genetics and manipulations and molecular biology, or doing electrophysiology and electron microscopy. I didn't want to come home and read about self-help and so forth. So that was a big blind spot for me for over a decade. And particularly when you become an entrepreneur and you get into business and stuff, you're accountable largely to yourself. And getting in the right mindset was paramount. You have to do that first. So incredibly important, and needs to absolutely be addressed before you start off. Otherwise, you don't know where you're going. How are you going to get there, right?
For sure, my man.
So tell me a little bit about your consulting business before we talk about real estate investing, because I'm itching to talk about that. But tell us where that's at right now.
Yeah, so for our company, we're really at an exciting time in our company right now. We're at a growth phase, and what we've been focusing on is really the Arizona market. And our mission is to turn Arizona into one of the best places to live and work. And I really believe that it starts in the workplace. The majority of the people that are in Arizona are individuals that go to a traditional 9 to 5. And when you're in that 9 to 5, you're going to invest somewhere like 90,000 hours of your life. And so in that environment, it's very important that that environment is cultured right. That environment is seated right in terms of you have the right leadership, you have the right culture. And I believe that two places, the schools and where we go to work. That's, when we talk about schools, our kids spend just as much time as the adults spend at work. And so if we can get those two places right, if we can get, we deal a lot with civility. And so if we can get people treating people right in those areas, then it begins to spill over in the family. And if it spills over in the family, then that impacts the community. So we do a lot of work on workplace enhancement, making sure that leaders are cultivating the right cultures inside their organizations. And so we're really excited. We're partnering with our goal over the next 2 to 3 years is to partner with 100 companies here in Arizona that are committed to making Arizona one of the best places to live and work. And so we're creating partnerships and we're helping them build out their teams, helping them build out their workplace culture. So we're really excited about that.
Me too. That's great to hear. That's a term, civility, isn't something I hear a lot in business. So and school, right? The way we treat each other and that's at the core of our community, and
it's huge. And I've had the opportunity to live in 5 different countries and travel to over 50 different countries, and America remains, even with a lot of our major issues, it still remains one of the best countries in the world. It still remains, for me, the best opportunity for people to live out their dreams and become their best selves. And I always say it's like driving on the freeway. We're all headed in the same direction. We have different designations, but we have to learn how to play together, right? And so when you want to get over, you turn on your signal. Like that's like saying, excuse me. We have these speed limits to make sure that it's safe for everybody. And so that's how I look at civility. We're all headed in the same direction. You're a father, I'm a father. We want the best for our children. We want the best for our family. So we have to play nice, right? I shouldn't be impeding in your happiness and you shouldn't be impeding in my happiness. And so that's a big concern of mine. And that's a big mission for our company.
Yeah, that's a great metaphor or analogy because when we stop playing nice, that can impact everybody's commute.
It stops everybody, right? And that's where we get a traffic jam. And over the last couple of years here in America, we've been kind of in the traffic jam based upon how we're treating each other.
Right. Oh, I love that one. Thank you for sharing that one. So, do you have any? By the way, do you have any sort of initiatives in the next 12 years or goals for your company here in Phoenix or otherwise?
Yeah, so a couple of initiatives. So, from a business standpoint, we want to become a $100 million company over the next 3 to 5 years. And so this is funny. We just recently had our company evaluated and we came in at an 8-figure evaluation. So really excited. about that. And so now we're putting in the framework to take us to the next level. And so that has me real excited. The next one, as I just talked about a little bit, is really about impacting these 100 companies. And we have some internal things that we're going to have going on in terms of our list. We're creating the civility list. And so we're going to be naming, going into next year, naming the top 25 civility companies here in Arizona. June the 8th, we have Civility Day, which has been earmarked by our mayor here in Phoenix, Arizona. So really excited about that. So we have a lot of initiatives around civility. I'm going to be spearheading something called AZ Connect, where I'm going to be bringing leaders all across the valley to come together so we can share best practices and collectively make Arizona, once again, one of the best places to live and work.
Okay, excellent. Awesome. Love it. Love it. Yeah, I was able to meet, it was a Scottsdale investor dinner we had last winter, but the Mayor Kate was there promoting our investment thesis. We're building a series of townhome build-to-rents here. They're about $1,000 a month cheaper than having a house, right?
Oh, wow.
The same size right now. So the affordability gap is pretty legit here in Phoenix, but they're very great proponents of what we're doing. So it's always good to have the local government on your side.
That's amazing, man. Yeah, she's great, man. I've met her, had the opportunity of meeting and working with her on several occasions.
Excellent. So it sounds like things are going really well for you and your business. A lot of people looking towards the future and how they can create maybe some passive income to enhance or even replace their active income so they can balance all their portfolios, have a little more stability in the future. What are your thoughts on that? What are your plans?
Yeah, so for us, the gateway for us, the path for us is through real estate. You know, when I was studying, wealth building and generational wealth and leaving legacy wealth, when I began to look at the different instruments and I looked at what really came easy for me per se in terms of understanding, it was real estate. And so for the last 15 years or so, real estate has been the vehicle for us. And so for me, that's the tool that I'm using to leverage my money. That's the tool that I'm using to create cash flow. That's the tool I'm using to solidify my retirement whenever I decide to retire. And so that's I know there's so many different instruments out there that people can use, but for me, real estate has been the go-to.
Okay. Yeah. Bitcoin's over 100K. Everybody's all excited.
Yeah. I'm kind of like Warren Buffett, right? Warren says, man, I see you winning over there in technology, but I really don't understand it. So I'm going to stick to what I understand.
But I know, right?
That's real estate. I understand buy a piece of wood, paint it, put a fence around it, put some shrubbery up, and you can turn a profit. I understand that pretty simple. And then
tangible physical asset.
Has physical assets. And then for me, I don't know where the world's going to be at in 100 years. I hopefully have about 50 more years on the clock. And so what I looked at, I said, okay, how much of the world is going to change in 50 years? And I still believe in 50 years, we're still going to be living in houses. We're still going to be living in apartments. We're still going to be living in duplexes. We're still going to be living in double wides. So for the foreseeable future for me, I saw that real estate was going to be around. I don't know if Bitcoin's going to be here. It may be here, may not be here. I don't know, but I know for sure we're going to be living in some type of housing. I don't think we're going to be living in the clouds just yet. And if they do get to that, I'll probably be long gone.
Right. I do like, I like diversification. I'm not afraid of, I like blockchain. And I think a little diversity, right? I'm not against Bitcoin. I just don't know. It doesn't cash flow. It doesn't check some of my other metrics for what a good investment is. Same with the market. Some of the best people I know in the market are only in it because they really know it and they're comfortable in a certain niche of it or something. So when people ask me, well, what should I do? It's like, well, what do you know? What do you understand? Right. And real estate's not that complicated, which is great, which is why it's created more millionaires than anything else, because the barrier to entry is really low, which is great.
there's a little acronym, KISS, keep it simple, stupid. And so I try to live by that. And so for me, you're right. Real estate, I know just, studying history, I know currency change. I was living in Germany when they went from the Dutch mark to the euro. So I know the complexities of when, currency changes. And I'm sure, I was, you and I were around when we went to direct deposit, so we've seen measurements change. I was around when, we went to the credit cards. So I know some forms of currency will change. But like, once again, for me personally, when I look at the horizons, real estate's going to pretty much stay the same, put some evaluation on it, do an asset evaluation on it and, print it up and you'll be able to sell it for a profit.
Okay. Do you like to be pretty hands-on on your real estate? Or
not at all. So what I try to do is partner. I try to partner with a lot of different people, and that's kind of how I diversify with inside of real estate. Whether looking at mobile home parks and things like that, I try to connect with experts in the field, and I just try to get all the money from speaking and consulting and training, and then
ship it over
to real estate.
Okay, excellent. Love it. Yep, I'm a big fan of that whole ideology. There's a lot of different asset classes, right? Mobile home parks is a very popular one. I think with housing costs being up high, right? It's a great alternative for a lot of people.
There's no one size fits all. Coming from I grew up in California, so understanding that housing market has always been one of the premium housing markets. When I first got into real estate, I didn't understand, I had a buddy in the military who talked to me about real estate, and he was from the South. He was from Georgia. And so he was talking to me about acres and things like that. I didn't even know what an acre was. And I'll never forget, he's like, man, yeah, I just bought me, and this was back in the early 90s. So he's like, man, I just bought me a house in Georgia, 70K, 3-bedroom, 2-bath, the bread and butter. And I'm like thinking, 70,000 for a house? That must be a matchbox, because my frame of reference was California. And
Sure.
In California for 70,000, even back in the 90s, you weren't getting anything. And he began to show me these pictures, and I'm like, wait a minute, all this land is yours? Like, yeah, I'm sitting on 2 acres. I'm like, all that's yours? All that's yours, And so it helped me to really expand. And so I remember the first piece of property I bought was in Florida, and the second property was in Texas. And so getting into other markets, understanding about other markets and how real estate plays in and plays out in other markets really was a game changer for me.
Okay, excellent. And back to the consulting real quick before we wrap up the interview.
Yeah.
What's sort of the range of company sizes you work with right now? Who are sort of your ideal clients?
So we work from small to large. We'll work with a company that, is a startup that has 5, and they want to set the blueprint for their culture, and they want to get it right from the beginning. So we'll work with them and help them out with forecasting and what that's going to look like, all the way up to Fortune 500 companies I've worked with: Intel, McDonald's, IBM, Goodyear, and everybody in between.
Okay. Wow. Well, yeah, that's quite the range. That's excellent. So if people would like to connect with you and learn more, what should they do?
Yeah, so professionally, our website is morelandtraining.com. You can go to morelandtraining.com and see everything that we're doing in that space. If you want to see what I'm doing on the speaking side and things like that, we have another website. It's called drwillspeaks.com. So if you just want to see what we're doing in the speaking side, or you're interested in becoming a speaker, or want to learn how you can use speaking as a marketing tool for your business, we have coaching programs on that side as well.
Awesome. Great stuff. All right. Well, thank you everybody for listening and watching. Thank you very much, Dr. Will Moreland, for joining me today. We appreciate you sharing your story and insights into success and coaching and what was the term? civility.
Civility.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. Yeah. It's not. That should roll off my tongue. That's pretty sad. And real estate investing. Love it. Thank you very much.
Appreciate you for having me, man.
Inspired by our guests? Visit PhoenixProsperityPodcast.com/guest and join us on the show and share your success story with Tim. The spotlight awaits.